Hi everyone, this is Teresa Barton from the Guardian Network, and I am here with Teresa Risner. We are at the beautiful One Senior Place in Altamont, and today we're going to talk primarily about planning for long-term care needs, with a little bit of focus on long-term care insurance and other options. So first, Teresa, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Teresa Risner. We seem to have a surfeit of Teresas here today. Don't know whether you're with an H or not, but I'm not with an H. My office here at One Senior Place, we house a team of about 8 in my agency, and our focus is on helping people plan for retirement, specifically how do they pay for long-term care. We're trying to get people to plan ahead of the crisis, and that's, for me, the big issue. I've been in this industry 20 years, and I came to it from a very different background, but because of my experience with taking care of my mother after she had a stroke, I mean, it basically brought my life to a grinding halt, and caring for my mother taught me what long-term care really is about. And for many, the financial burden of long-term care implodes families, and that's what I want to try and avoid, help people plan ahead of the crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I'm motivated to do this is I don't sell insurance. I don't sell any insurance products. I'm a user. I'm a frequent flyer of all those products as a guardian and advocate and care manager. So one of the stories I often talk about, or maybe comparisons, is if I had an 87-year-old gal and she had $500,000 and no long-term care insurance, I would tell her that she's very likely in her care needs in her senior years to end up going through all that money.
Yeah,
very likely.
That's true. I've seen it happen.
On the other side, if I have an 87-year-old gal with $100,000 and a really robust, I call them juicy, long-term care policy, there's really good odds that she'll never, not only will she never use all of her long-term care benefits, but she will not blow through her money.
Exactly, and she'll have a legacy to leave to those that matter to her the most.
Right.
For sure.
And the other reason that I want to talk about this is the concept of choice. One of the things I don't like about any of our government programs, any of them, is they all get tighter and tighter and tighter in restrictions and limitations and choice.
Right.
There's a perception about Medicare that many people have that Medicare will pay for long-term care insurance.
No.
Teresa, tell folks why that won't happen.
It won't happen because Medicare does not pay for long-term care. That's just a statement. And if you go into your Medicare and You book, you will find it in there. I mean, it varies on what page. It's in the first few pages. I've seen in the teens, 13, 14, 15 pages. You will see Medicare does not pay for long-term care. The misconception happens because we see people in nursing homes being paid for by Medicare. What is happening there is people are in rehabilitation that follows a stay in a hospital. The expectation is that their stay will recover them to their prior health and they will go home.
Right.
If at some point someone in the nursing home says, well, Mrs. Smith, this is as good as you're going to get. You know, there is no more improvement. All you need now is some help with bathing, dressing, whatever you do every day. Well, you know, we're not going to be here to do that. You're going to go home. Okay, this is as good as you get. You're recovered now. Medicare turns off the tap.
And I can tell you, every week I get a call from a family saying they got the dreaded call from the rehab. People call them nursing homes or rehab. It's kind of interchangeable words.
Right.
The rehab called and said, your mother's Medicare days are over.
We now need $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
$8,000. $8,000 every month.
Right.
And this is when that's the crisis we're talking about. I get those calls every week, and the family says, $8,000.
Well, who's going to pay this?
Where's that coming from?
Where's it coming from?
So,
well, out of your checkbook or your mother's checkbook is where it's coming from. And often the question then is they all rush to their financial planners. They, well, what are we going to liquidate first? Why are we doing this? And then what do they try and do?
Well, they want to apply for Medicaid, potentially.
Yeah.
And let me talk a little bit about Medicaid. Okay, so we've got Medicare, which is really just short-term costs, reimbursements for rehab. It's recovery. Good words.
Yeah.
So now Medicaid. So somebody will say, I'll let Medicaid pay for it. Okay. It's not that simple. First of all, Medicaid has extreme limits of how much income you can have and how many assets you can have. First of all, it also has extreme limits of what you've done in the last 5 years with your money. But the bigger reason I want to talk about Medicaid is a government program. And like any other government program, all of them, there are strings, lots of strings attached.
Remember, Medicaid is a program designed for people with little money, not people who've got money who are trying to get Medicaid to pay for their long-term care.
Right. So what I don't like about Medicaid and any government program is immediately the loss of choice and control.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I love about long-term care insurance is it's just like money.
It's a bucket of money that follows you around wherever you need your long-term care, whether it's at home, in daycare, assisted living, nursing homes, wherever you need long-term care, the bucket of money is there to help pay for it for you.
And that's also what I love about it, because having done this for many, many years, what I've learned is we're really bad at reading the tea leaves.
Oh, yeah. Well, my crystal ball's been in the shop this week, so I can't help you. I don't know what's going to happen. People say to me, when's the best time to buy long-term care insurance? And I say, well, why don't you contact me about 3 months before you have the stroke, or about 3 months before you're diagnosed with dementia, and then I'll get you through underwriting. And they look at me and they pause for a moment. Well, how will I know? Well, exactly. How do you know when your house is going to be needing insurance to pay for repairs? How do you know when you're going to have a car accident? You don't know. You buy insurance to basically assume the risk when it does happen. And the problem I see is that optimism is built into us. Denial is not just a river in Egypt. I know everybody's fed up with hearing me say that, but hope is not a plan. If you don't plan that long-term care will happen, you're going to be hit by the crisis. 1 in 2 women, 1 in 3 men. It's huge odds that we're going to need help. And you don't have to be sick to need long-term care help. Maybe you're just very old and very frail.
So the other reason I want to talk about this today is to try to get across to the people who generally are too busy. So this is a 45-year-old mother, 3 kids, full-time job, taking care of her mother-in-law at one location
and
her mother in another location. And the last thing she's thinking about is herself.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying, even though many of the folks who watch our videos are folks in the elder care and disabled industry, this is a discussion for completely healthy and relatively young people, because the freedom of buying long-term care when you are young and healthy is unbelievable. I was lucky enough to be in this industry and realized
that's true.
15 years ago that I needed long-term care insurance.
Right.
And luckily, because I'm in this industry and I saw how expensive it was, we purchased it.
Right.
And since then, I've watched it over and over again. It is the difference between success and choice. There is no assisted living facility in the entire state of Florida that will not accept money, cash. So that means there's no limitation, because the long-term care just reimburses the cost of the care.
It's a financial solution, really.
It's money.
But the key is to think of this as a normal and natural part of your retirement planning. Don't assume it's not going to happen. Because I've seen people with millions go broke, not just half a million.
Right.
It can be insanely expensive, especially if you are hit double whammy with dementia in your family. That can really cost money. And to some people who have lived the experience of long-term care needs in their family, they are more open to the idea of, I need to have a plan in place. My youngest client was 34.
Wow.
I was 47 when I got my coverage, but I was uninsurable 3 years later after an accident. If I had waited, I would not have been able to get it. But I have a very robust policy. It's something I will never let go. Now, we are experiencing premium increases, and at each point when that happens, I sit down with the client, I sit down and say, does this still make sense to you? Let's continue to make it affordable. They don't want to let it go.
And you think about it cost-wise. You would not drive your car without health insurance. I mean, car insurance. You would not have your homeowner's insurance. Those things are much easier to care for than you are.
and replace, believe it or not. I mean,
It's
if your
hard.
house burns down, it can be rebuilt. If you become uninsurable through a chronic illness, there's nothing can be done. It's
Right.
too late.
Right.
Now, I don't want to give everybody the impression that long-term care insurance is the only solution.
Right.
Not everybody's healthy enough to get long-term care insurance. They're going to ask questions about your health. So there are other mechanisms, and I work with all the mechanisms to help people, to support them when they need help, and to remove the stress. One of the biggest concerns that my clients have is, if we need long-term care, I want to be making my choices. The loss of independence becomes a big issue for people.
Right.
And so it's important that we think about how can we maintain that independence and that choice for you. What do you want to happen?